So you've told people then what they need to do, roughly how, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of sugar. Now let's talk metrics. It's another thing that people don't push you on, but I know you do this in your seminars, certainly in the one-on-ones, is you give people metrics by which to steer. The final thing that, not now, but in a minute, we will get to the thing I really want to ask you.
Okay.
But to do that, it's going to be metrics driven. So what are, and let's make it hard. In the psychological, emotional category, what are the three most important metrics people need to judge their progress by?
Well, in the psychological realm, everyone's going to measure themselves differently because everyone values things differently. Some people value success or significance. Some people value love more. Some value just basic levels of certainty. So when I look at the specific metrics, I really look at metrics of what are the things that need to be measured to know if your life is going to work or not. So I look at it as our whole lives are guided moment to moment by the state we're in. Learning how to change your state, not bullshit, not fake, but to go from pissed off, frustrated, freaked out to back in your center or creative or determined or something that's going to move you forward. It's going to create a better quality of life for you and others. That's a critical skill set. So moment to moment, our life's controlled by our states.
Yep.
You know, if you're in an angry state, you're going to respond differently than if you're feeling playful. But what controls those states long term is your model of the world, your worldview. And I look at that as having, as a metric, three things that I look at. I look to see first, what are the targets you're after? The target is, everyone has different goals and dreams and desires. But as I traveled around the world to 100 countries, I started going, holy shit, I'm seeing the same problems. What's underneath it? I began to see that there are these same 6 human needs that we all have, the same needs. We all have a need for certainty, that we can avoid pain and we can have some pleasure, some comfort. We all need uncertainty. We need variety, or we feel dead inside. If you're totally certain, you're bored. If you have total variety, you're like freak out. And it's not a balance. It's learning which of these you need more as a person. Everyone's developed a different set of values in that area. The need for significance, to feel unique, special, important, the need to feel loved, the need to grow, and the need to contribute. Some people value certainty at the top of their list. That's their center of their target. I don't want to do anything unless I know it's going to work. I don't want to do anything unless it's the same. If you change anything, they freak out. If certainty is the number one thing on your list, everyone has the same needs, but if it's number one, I know how your life's going to be. I can predict the direction of your life and therefore the destination to some extent. If you're driven by love first, you want certainty too, but love is higher, you're going to behave very differently than if you're driven by significance. I have to be the one. Your experience in business was trying to be significant by making enough money and being successful enough that you would feel what you really want, which is that feeling of love, what you call, what would you call it?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie, thank you, camaraderie. So that feeling of, it's really love, it's the friendship, it's camaraderie, it's that component. That's what really drives you. Sure. And so you figure out how to organize your life where that's the driving force, and now look what you've done. You've flourished and everyone around you is flourishing. So I look to see which of those needs are the top 2 on your list because they control your life.
Yep.
The 2 that most people have, 90% of the planet, if you said, of all these needs, which one do you really focus on most day to day? Everybody wants love, but what do you focus on? Most people focus on being significant. We live in a Facebook world where people fake their life, put new filters, make it look different than it really is, tell stories that, are totally full of it to make themselves look good. Because we live in this kind of false world where significance is more important than love.
Right.
And it separates us. And the other one that we see most often is certainty. People want to be certain before they can do something. You couldn't have started a business like you had if you were absolutely certain before you started. You can never build a business with that. You can never build a great relationship because if it's based on certainty, then everybody's got to stay the same and never change, which means you're never going to grow, which means you're going to be miserable.
Right.
So my metrics are, I want to find out what's driving you. And I want to see, is it healthy or unhealthy? You can have 2 people be driven by significance, though, and do it with a different set of rules. That's the second piece I measure. The beliefs or rules of how to fulfill that target. So Osama bin Laden, certainty-driven, love-driven, contribution-driven, significance-driven, not hard to figure out. On a 0 to 10, he was a 10 for significance. He was the, whatever, I'm making the number up, I think he was like the 27th child of his father, 22nd child. Most people don't know that. Totally insignificant, not skilled, took his dad's money, went over to Afghanistan, and suddenly, because he had money, he became significant. And he wasn't even part of that movement at that stage. It shaped him. So what does he do? He's going to figure out, his model of the world is, I'm significant if I destroy you, right? On that same day of 9/11, there were men and women in the fire department, police department, that were also driven by significance and contribution, and they went into that building knowing they're likely going to die to save a stranger. Both people driven to have a significant life. One is by taking life, one is by giving their own life. So once you understand the metrics, using your language, of what's driving you, and then the rules or beliefs of what does it take for you to feel loved, it's different for everybody. What does it take for you to feel certain? Some people need $1 billion, some people just need to trust God. Right?
But if your goal is, let's say they come to you and they say, maybe my primary driver wasn't growth before, but now I know it's not. That's a more important need to focus on. It's the need of the spirit. What metric would you tell them to look at? Like, how do they know? Am I growing? Am I making progress? What do they use as a check and balance?
You have two different pieces. Maybe I should chunk up to 30,000 feet. Here's my mission. Help people have an extraordinary, magnificent life.
Yeah.
Now, what does that look like? Life on their terms. So your terms are completely different. So your metrics might be, I want to do this in my business, I want to do this in my body. You be that way. Somebody else might be, I want to be happy no matter what happens. That's my metric. I want to literally be honest that when I start to feel any form of suffering, I kill it like a dead bug and I crush it and I'm back into a beautiful state.
But you've said if you can't measure it, you're not going to get any better at it. So how do you measure
something? I totally agree,
something
but
like
you
that?
can measure it. You can say, how often am I, like, for example, a happy state, 0 to 10. Where are you? If I said right now, how much enthusiasm is in your body, 0 to 10 right now? What would you say?
10.
10. So you can measure and say, I'm not going to drop below an 8 in my life unless I'm frickin' sleeping or I'm deciding I'm going to rest. This is where I want to play my game. So it's different for everybody.
Sure.
But I want to be more clear about something. An extraordinary life is life on your terms, and there's two parts. Part one to have an extraordinary life is mastering the skill of the science of achievement. How do I take what I envision and make it real? And how do I do that quicker, faster, better, easier? The ability to manifest what you come up with and make it real, like you've done with your company, that's a skill set. I spend an unbelievable amount of time helping people do it faster, quicker, better, showing them the shortcuts, teaching them the strategies, modeling what works so you can save yourself a decade. But I would submit to you that having done this for 38 years with, 50 million people at this stage, I can tell you that the science of achievement, there are a lot of people that are damn good at that, and they still don't have an extraordinary life. They have an extraordinary life. You see it as extraordinary, but I get the phone call from the multi-billionaire who tells me he wants to do this thing on his business, but what he really find out is he's miserable as hell, and he's hoping somehow I'm going to rub off on him on that side too.
Right.
And so I give him what he asked for, the change in his business, but I also give him what he needs, which is the change inside of him. So the second skill is the art of fulfillment. If you want an extraordinary life, you can't just achieve, you got to be fulfilled. As simplistic as that sounds, but it's an art. It's not a science.
Sure.
It's a science to making money. Come on. Any age, any color, any background, any gender, if you do these things, you'll have an abundance of money. You do these things, you're going to have too much month at the end of the money. You're going to have financial stress, right? Body. Everyone's biochemically different, but you and I both know there's fundamental rules, laws. There's a science to the body. You violate that science, you're going to have dis-ease. You're going to have low energy. You align with that, you're going to have an abundance of energy. It's going to affect everything in your life. It's a science. Fulfillment's not like that. Fulfillment is as different as our human beings. You want to know what God or the universe likes? Look at the jungle, look at the forest.
Right.
It's diverse.